everyone, this is In-Game Art with the box and a breakdown of the demo. This is TimeSplitters 2 for the PlayStation 2, and this is being played on my PlayStation 2. Now, TimeSplitters 2 is a classic game for me. To be frank, I have not massive nostalgia and love for this game. I recently wanted to come back and replay it again because it's been a long time since I sat down and replayed all the TimeSplitter games again. And the 2 and 3 are my almost favorite of the series. Now, coming back to TimeSplitters 2, it does have a little bit of hiccups from its age, but for the most part, it stands up to the test of time quite well, both in visually, navigation, as well as just the overall playability and just functions of the game. Now, there's little things or gripes in there I'll talk about in a little bit, but TimeSplitters 2 is a game that takes place in of course, a kind of distant future where these enemies called the Splitters or Time Splitters are trying to eradicate the human race. And basically, you got to go back in time to prevent them from altering time points of history, so that way humanity can survive. And it kind of plays that way all three of them. But the thing was about TimeSplitters is that it had so much content that it blew your mind how much there was in terms of like single player as well as multiplayer, special challenges matches and stuff like that, and even special leagues and stuff. It just had a bunch of content as well as a bunch of content you can unlock through different game modes, more weapons, more characters to play as well as more maps. It just had so much you could do, especially for back then. It just really blew your mind how much you can do and how much content there was. As well as the music in the game is top tier quality music. I was coming back to it and listening to the music again, which just blew me away. But to get into the game aspects of it, the cooler things as well is that the feature of this game is that it has a map creator where you can create your own maps and stuff like that, which is something you don't see much anymore in these days, because they usually want to try to sell you content through DLC and so forth. But this map creator is actually quite simple and well able to craft, and what's so cool about it, you can even create single player as well as multiplayer maps, and even special arcade kind of challenges for yourself. So it's not just a simple hey, create something as a death match. You can create your own single player small campaigns if you want, even create old arcades that you can play with your friends. The fact that it has 4-player split screen as well, you can play the entire campaign with split screen of 2 players. Like I said, for TimeSplitters, what it is, it blows you away how much content and how good the game is. And then when you try to look at games nowadays, I'm not trying to do the whole war saying games were better back then. I'm just talking about just the basic features and functions that games had back then that we try to praise and try to just beg developers to include in games nowadays. And it's just funny to come back and play this and see what we've always talked about. When you see people, retro gamers, talking about how there's certain things about nowadays games that just is unacceptable. But I don't want to get into that topic. But the gameplay wise of the game is that with the campaigns, you got multiple campaigns you can play through, and it takes place in certain eras in our human history. Some take place in the past, some take place recently, because 2019 on one of the maps, as well as that some of them take place in the future. What's cool is you can go through the games going through completely stealthy if you want to go through that way in some game areas, as well as you can go through it or go into guns blazing, which is really cool. It's like gives you multiple ways you can choose to approach it. As well as graphically, the game stands up. I do think the game was quite gorgeous for its time, and then it's got this very cartoony, kind of realistic kind of, I don't know, just it has a really cool combination with it that has just well worth it. The one thing that you're going to notice it's a little weird is how to aim. As you notice, there's no crosshairs as you're just typically aiming, and when you want to aim, you got to hold down your L1 button, and you gotta move your crosshairs as though it's like a navigation kind of mouse kind of thing. It's a little wonky at first, especially if you're kind of new to that style, and you'd be wondering what were they thinking. But when you get used to it, you can get pretty good with it. But later on in TimeSplitters 3, they fixed this issue. But for the most part, it's not that big of a deal. But that's the only thing that's going to really hinder you. You can still shoot without aiming, and the bullets will generally lock onto the characters, so you won't have too much issues with that. As well as the campaigns have a bunch of little hidden stuff, as well as has little arcade cartridges you can get for your device to play little mini games, as well as the campaigns sometimes have little side quests you can do. Now, the gripe thing I can give about it is that sometimes it can be very confusing where you need to go and what you need to do at certain moments in the game. There's not a lot of like, hey, go here, push this thing. It's just like, hey, we're putting units in a map, you need to be observant what's going on. If you don't see it, that's your own problem. So it was a little aggravating at certain moments because I couldn't remember what I was supposed to do. But once I figured it out, it made sense. Moving on from that, we can talk about the multiplayer side of it, where you can go to arcade, where it has like so many bots, so many chaos. You can have like a bunch of enemies running around, blown away. You can customize the guns as well as the enemies yourself, as well as, like I said, you can play 4-player split screen. I can't praise this game enough as it is, and even to this day, it still stands up to even nowadays games in both functions and gameplay and speed. It doesn't get the praise it deserves. And I know that lots of people out there are aware of TimeSplitters, but it's still one of those hidden gems that even stands the test of time. I know I've said that, but coming back to it, you can really truly see what I mean when you play it yourself. So I highly recommend the game to add it to your collection. It's one of those games that I will always come back and appreciate. I'll try to go jump into the third one and probably the first one at some point. I don't really care too much for the first one, but the third one has definitely got the best campaign out of them all. But again, this is the second one. It's well worth your time. You can get in your collection. It's a nostalgia bomb if you've ever played it yourself. And just come back to it, you still will remember it fondly. So thank you all for watching. I'll leave links down in the description if you're interested in a copy. And I'll see you guys in my next episode. Bye-bye!
Nikolai! Shh, shh, shh. We shouldn't be in the research center without security clearance. I'm telling you, I heard gunshots. They'll kill us if they find out. Come on, coward. Nikolai, the light! Stupid torch. Does nothing in this army work.
Control, come in. Stupid radio.
It's all down to me now.